You can have a look at that. And then I want to kill two birds with one stone with it. Yeah, stone. Stone? What is stone? Campers, let's find a stick and go play. I looked through my trees that I have. Couldn't really find what I was looking for. I do have a big stick here, and you can see it, this one here. But it's a little too big for what I want to do. Maybe there's something in my deadfall from the trees from winter. Get a lot of this. This is all sticks that have fallen off the trees. And as you can see, there's a lot of them. I see one. Looking for a specific stick. It needs to have certain things on it. This one, although a little short, might do the trick. Anyway, in the man cave and working on some stuff that I felt I needed to have a look at. Two reasons. One, got a new knife. Always a good reason to be in the man cave looking at things. And this is the one from BPS Knives. If you remember the last video I did one from BPS Knives, and it really impressed me. These are the knives from the Ukraine. You know, now that I've had a look at them, I did a little bit more studying on them, and they're pretty popular. I liked the last one I got. It joined my hangers up top on the wall. I bought its little brother. Well, what I thought was the little brother. And it's this guy. And they call it the BPS Knives BS2FTS. Not sure what that means, but it is a full Tang Bushcraft knife with a leather sheath. And they say camping, outdoor fixed blade, carbon steel knife with a leather case. So this is it here. The first thing I noticed was the sheath is exactly the same size and everything as the last one I got, except it's a different color. It's the blade. The knife itself is slightly different. If you remember on the last one, it had the BPS, I can't remember what it was called, but it had that huge like dip in the blade in the front here. This one does. There's more straighter, bushcrafty, original standard bushcraft style blade. A nice edge to it, and like the other ones, it came with all oiled and everything. So it is carbon steel. So the thing that amazed me, and I still don't know how they do it, is how shiny they get that carbon steel. Look at that. It almost looks like a stainless steel blade. When I first thought it, I thought that's what it was. When I first looked at it on the other knife, I thought, no, this is stainless. No, it's carbon. Same as the other one, it comes extremely sharp. One of the reasons I really like these guys is that they actually send you the knife and it's sharp. What I consider to be the way a knife should arrive, sharp in the box. And these guys certainly do that. Standard handle on it, nothing fancy, just the right length for my grubby. I have a short squat hand. You can see I'm all palm, nothing else. It fits my hand nicely. I do like it. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you the specs on it. You can have a look at that. And then I want to kill two birds with one stone with it. Yeah, stone. Stone? What is stone? So what I would like to do is in this video kill two birds with one stone. Have a look at this knife and see how it works for me. Is it a bushcraft knife in my mind, the way I would use it outdoors? The other thing I want to look at is the Moore's, I want to say Kochanski, Moore's Kochanski tri-stick. I found this, I saw this, and I've done one before, and I wanted to learn a little bit more about it. So I found this PDF document, and And I downloaded and read it, and very interesting. I also watched a video, and I will put a link below for you to go and have a look at the video of Moores actually doing a tri-stick and why and how it should be done. In that video, he talks about using willow as the best wood to use for a tri-stick, and how they came up with it, how it was developed, and how they use it. So what I want to do is, as you saw in the intro, I went and found me a stick. Obviously not willow, but I was looking for a specific stick, and I want to make me a true original tri-stick based on the document from Moores there. Hopefully this will work. So we're going to be doing some carving outside, getting rid of bark and things like that, and preparing the stick. This is still might be a little wet. It has been outside. Our weather has been a little bit odd, as I said. So hopefully this will work, and I want to make me an actual tri-stick. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you will remember I made a big stick that I wanted it to be a bushcrafty style, and what I did was did some notches and things in a big stick and put a head on it and that sort of thing. So that was more of a walking staff and a fun project. This, I want to see if I can produce a good tri-stick, and while doing that, test this guy. I will put links below to quick links on everything I do. So if you want to look at the specs of the knife, there's a quick link. If you want to look at a specific notch, there'll be a quick link, and so on. So it just makes it easier for you, because it's probably going to be a long video. So with that in mind, I'm going to grab Mary, put her in a harness, and let's go outside and play with some wood. This way. Come on. Come. Going the wrong way. As you can hear, the construction guys are outside. Mary's not enjoying it. She doesn't want to go anywhere close to them, so Mary's going to have to stay inside, and I'm going to have to work around the noise. Sorry, bear with me here. Finally, we're out back here, and the contractor guys have taken the rest of the day off. So I'm hoping to get this in, at least get a start on the stick, and of course showing you what I can do with this guy from BPS. Like I said, they advertise it as a bushcraft knife. It's about right. Personally, found that any good, sharp, well-made knife, reasonably well made, and the right size and shape of the blade, and the handle is comfortable, works for me whether it's a bushcraft or not. So I think it's a personal preference. So we'll see how this guy does for me and for what I'd use it for. But I will say this, the stick I'm going to make, the tri-stick, I'm going to try and do all the notches that they discuss on it, on that PDF document, just because there are going to be notches there that I will probably never use. But knowing that I can do them is a big plus for me. You know, knowledge, it's a survival tool. You never know. And this stick is a little green, unfortunately. They don't recommend that. They say dry would be better. But if you have a green stick, there's no problem there. It is also not willow. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll clean it up and we'll do what we can with it. The real test is, will it cut it and do the notches I need to do? Add some things to it just for my own personal well-being, because I can. So that's what I'm going to do. So as you can see, I've already started. They don't, you know, the stick that they recommend, no knots in it. Well, this guy has more than enough, and I've cleaned them up, and hopefully I'll be able to work around them and get all the notches in. And if you're wondering why I was looking for these, I want to make a pot hanger, and to make a pot hanger you need that to hang the pot. Never used one. I know how they work and I know how to do the notch. It's just I've never made one. So we will be doing that. But we're going to go through those notches, we'll get them done, and it's going to take a while. First off, I've got to clean off. They recommend you have a clean stick, all the bark off. They said it doesn't have to be perfect. When you're done with everything, you can clean it up afterwards. So we're going to get all the bark off, and we'll start on the notches and explanation up. I'll either explain to you what the notch is for, what it is, what it's used for, then just do it, and you can see how it's done, and we'll see if the knife takes care of it. There will be links you can jump between the notches. That'll help you out because it's going to be a long one. So hang in there and let's see what damage we can do to this stick. And of course, campers, it goes without saying, when you're using a sharp object like a knife or a saw, anything like that, please be safe. There are things that you need to pay attention to. You never cut towards yourself, you never cut towards your body in any way. If you can, wear gloves. If not, be really careful with how you go about doing things. Think about what you're doing. Anything sharp is always a dangerous thing, so be safe. Practice safe knife techniques when making this. So I use my Laplander just to clean off all the extra bits sticking out. This is going to be my pot hanger piece right here. Let's start cleaning it up. And here we have the knife right here. It's green, it is slicing right through there nicely, so no problem there. And this is a knot I'm cutting into, and it's really not having a problem with it at all. No surprises there. The last knife from them worked really well, and like I said, these guys send you a knife that is really sharp. One thing he does discuss about when doing this and you cleaning up the bark can be used to make cordage. So there's one thing, and something I should try and do. Maybe not this time, but next time I'm doing something, maybe make some cordage would be a good practice and a good skill to have. You never know. So here we have the stick here, and I've cleaned off most of the bark there, that it doesn't need to be perfect. If it's a little fluffy or anything like that, you can always clean that up. After you've done all your notches and everything like that, you can clean it up to look presentable. And one thing Moores does say on the video is that the correct length, or a reasonable length for a tri-stick, should be from your armpit to fingertip. Now this one, as you can see, there's a little bit longer, but that's okay. I plan on trimming it off a little bit, but it'll still be a little bit long. Also, 2 to 3 centimeters thick, which is about 1 inch and a bit, which this is probably in that range, so it's not bad. It meets all those things. So the next thing we want to do, you want to end off the stick. So I've already been playing with this, so I'm going to cut this off again just a little bit and show you how to round off, well, how I round off the ends. You don't want a flat, sharp edge on it like that, because that catches on things, it frays. Use a knife, because I believe that's one of the notches he discusses, and that is cutting the stick. And one of the very first things you should learn to do is to actually cut the stick, cut it right through. Well, not right through, but break it, so they cut it so you can break it, and you've now cut off the stick. And using a knife to do that, not an axe, not a saw or anything like that, but just using the knife. After all, this whole thing is about using and improving your skills and knowledge on knife work. Now, I'm just going to cut off a little bit at the end here, and the way you do that is to make 45-degree cuts into the wood, and you want to cut in about 2/3 of the way all the way around. So you're going to cut in at 45, keep going around the stick until you have that 45 all the way in at 2/3 of the thickness of the stick. If you look in a stick here, there'll be a dark section. As soon as you start hitting that dark section, you're deep enough. There you should be able to break the stick. So weakened by your cut that it should break. And one side should be a little fluffy, the part you're going to throw away. And the other side, you just need to clean it up to do that, which means we're going to be cutting around that 45 degree all the way around for quite a while. A way to get around that, the way I would get around it, is to use maybe something to bludgeon with at 45 to get a little bit deeper in there. But you don't want to do a deep one right away. You want to work yourself down into it. So where I'm planning on cutting it is right there. So we're going to go in at about 45 degrees and just work our way around, just like this, all the way around. I'm not quite at 45, but you get the idea. And you just want to keep digging into it. This is a pretty hard stick, and this knife is getting into that no problem. Slowly working my way further and further, deeper and deeper into the stick all the way around at about a 45 degree dig into it. And you can see the knife getting deeper and deeper into it as I work my way around. You're always cutting away from yourself. Having a good stopper behind you, like a log or something to work on, is always a good thing. And I'm getting pretty close right now. I don't know how many times I've actually cut into it. Now I'm hoping that I'm getting deep enough here where I can break this just with my hand. Let's give it a try. Nope, that's not going to work. There you go. Just giving it a good knock. And here you can see the clean end of the cut. And here's the fluffy end of the cut. Looks like a little rosebud. So there, that's the first cut you're required to do on a tri-stick. Now we need to clean this lot up. And you can see I'm just cutting off the end here and kind of flattening it out. Where would I use this? For me, I use a tarp a lot. I like to hammock camp, but not just hammock camping. In a situation where you're going to put a tarp up and just spend an afternoon underneath it or something like that, you might want to find yourself a pole, a stick, where you get a stick and you put it in the ground, and that's where you're going to put your tarp on. You don't want any sharp points on the top here. It's going to go straight through your tarp when you tighten it down. So you can round it off nicely, get rid of all the sharp edges on it, and here you can see it right there. It's no longer sharp, it's rounded off. Putting this on your tarp and pulling down on it isn't going to pierce your tarp, hopefully. So a good thing to know how to do. How you do it, I believe, is up to you. You know, to round something off, I tend to just move my way around and slice into it, just small slices all the way around here. If you can see that, let me see if I can show you that. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just taking off little pieces one at a time, and you can work your way around the edge, and eventually you get it round. First task done. So the next notch he talks about is why I have this, and that is the pot hook holder. I'm sure all of you have seen everybody who's cooked over a fire with a stick. Here's your support stick here, and that hangs on there. And then on the other end here, you have your pot hook, which he calls a pot hook. Some of us know it as a beak head or something like that. And your notch should be about 2/3 of the way into the stick diameter. So if this was an inch, you want to go 2/3 of an inch into it. The other thing he discussed is that if you put the notch at the end here and you have a heavy pot on, when the wood dries, it weakens. And if your hook is right here, you put a heavy load on the hook, it's going to break off at the end here. So he said, give yourself at least an inch or two up from the bottom of the stick to make your notch, which gives you that much more strength before it breaks. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to make a 90-degree cut and a slice in the side, like a V-notch in one side, and repeat it in a mirror image on the other side. So far, this knife is doing a tremendous job. Beautifully sharpened, it is nice and sharp, which makes it a lot easier. And, you know, I think that the width of the blade is about right for me. I kind of like that. It's like middle of the road. It's not too thick, not too thin, which is what you want. You're going to start with a 90-degree notch. So you put like a stop cut. And you slice into it. If this is the first time doing one of these, take your time, just like I'm doing. I'm in no rush. He's talking about somebody who's comfortable with the knife they're working with. They've done this before. They understand the notch. Should take no longer than a minute. I don't know if I can do that. So you can see it's forming here now. You can see what I'm doing there. Can you see that? It's kind of a V-notch with a 90-degree on it. And the length of the notch from here to there should be about the diameter of the stick you're working with. And there you have it there. And if I do the same thing here, we're going to get that peak, and then I'll have to work it down to 2/3. And I'm looking right now, and my angle I don't think is enough. So I'm just like that. And we repeat a mirror image. Now you can see here we're forming that notch. Now what I'm going to do is clean up this edge here to get about 2/3 of the way deep in. I might even have to increase these. Obviously, if your pot handle is really thick, you need this to be big enough to take it. So the book is always on hand. I'm getting pretty close to 2/3 down there. I'm also losing my center line here, but maybe we can tighten that up. And now if you look carefully, you can see that dark center piece there on the inside of that notch. And that's about halfway, and I'm going to say I'm about 2/3 of the way in. Pot hook, or Beaks head, if that's what you want to call it. How good it is, have no idea. Oh, we have our pot hook there, and the next thing we're going to do is a round notch. Should be the width of the round notch should be the same as the diameter of the stick that you're carving. Now the round notch would be used, it's probably the most common notch used in cabin building. So you would put a round notch in, the size, the width of your stick, and about half of the depth of the stick, and should be perfectly round. By the way, I did find something with the knife, and that is, if you have a look at the handle right there, you can see this is sticking up just a touch. Let me see if I can show you that from the handle. Can you see that? Whereas this one is buried right in. And it just so happens that on this side it's sticking up a little bit, and it's down there. Is it a big deal? Did I feel it or anything? Not really. Hasn't affected me, and I think it's such a small thing that it's not affecting me at all. It needs to be the same diameter as the piece of wood, and it just so happens that if I put my knife blade on there, the knife is exactly, or almost exactly, the depth of the knife as the piece of wood, so I can use that to measure with. So that's what I'm going to do right here, and I'm going to put the notch a little bit further away from there than just to be on the safe side, and I almost want to make a center line here. This is how I would go about it, and I'm going to cut down into there, trying to keep some sort of angle so I can we're going to need to round it off at the halfway mark here. We're not quite there. Remember this rosebud? And then it would sit right in that spot right there, like that. And what? So there you go. Third notch done. So we did the round notch, not so straight as you can see. I need to clean it up so it's a little bit more rounded there, but we'll get back and clean it up when we've got all the notches in. The next notch we need to do is called the saddle notch, and it's one of those notches that it's used in log building as well. The difference is there's no round pieces to it. Basically what you're going to do is 45 in with a little flat piece in the middle. And if you're wondering why we made a round one and then we're doing a saddle, what's the point? Just do the saddle. It's quicker and easier, doesn't need any rounding off. The difference is this round it off and it looks nicer. The saddle would be used maybe at the top and at the bottom, and because there are no round edges on it, you have corner to corner, it doesn't roll. The log can't roll at all when you put that other one on. So it is a better notch for holding logs. And this is the saddle notch. Same principle as the round notch. And you're going to go halfway into it, and there won't be the curved bit down here. This will be flat. So when you look at them from the sides, you have this rounded off. Right. So once again, width of the stick, mark that off. There. And what you're going to do is you're going to go in at 45 degrees to a flat plane. Just trying to clean it up a bit here. Pride in your work is what you got to have. When I show you the two notches, you can see the difference. One has the flat and one has the round face. I don't know if you can see that. Well, campers, here we are, back in the man cave. Unfortunately, I just got a little busy, had a lot of stuff going on, and couldn't get out there and finish what I wanted to do with this video. And that is complete this and the knife review all at once. But I think what I'm going to do right now is I want to talk to you about the knife. I used the knife to make the tri-stick. I've been working on it. Whenever I had a chance, I would slip in a couple of minutes and spend some time on the tri-stick. And here you can see it here. And I'm not finished yet. But everything I've done on this tri-stick, I used the BPS knife. And I got to say, it does the job. It doesn't do a perfect job like if I was using a carving knife. Obviously, one of the reasons is the width of the blade and the shape of the tip. You're just limited as to how small you can go and work on this. And that certainly got in the way when I was making this. And I did use this to make the hole. And as you can see, it's a little rough right now. I haven't quite finished it up, which I will do. But the tri-stick is coming on. And what I'm going to do is I'll finish off the review on the knife. And if you've been looking at the descriptions below and the shortcuts there, once again, I'm impressed with these knives. BPS have done a really good job with these knives. Nothing fancy about them at all. Very plain, very simple, and do the job. And I will say this, and I know I've said it a number of times, it arrives in the box really sharp, which it's one thing that impressed me about these knives. This and the other knife that I have that I'd shown you before are very similar. I actually thought this would be a lot smaller than the other one. It's about the same size. There's just not a lot of difference between them, except on the other one it has a deeper belly here. But overall, another good knife from BPS. Can't complain. The stainless steel look to it, although it isn't stainless steel, it is, you know, carbon steel, if they actually say it on there. I don't know if you can see that right there. Carbon steel, beautifully finished. A very plain handle, nothing fancy about it, but works with my hand. You know, I really don't need those finger grips because I don't really see the need for them. As long as you can get a good grip on the handle, I'm not worried about that. It doesn't have the chimping on top for your thumb. Once again, something doesn't really bother me. The general overall shape and size, yes, it's a bushcraft knife. Can you use it for other things? Sure. I mean, it's strong enough to bludgeon with. It's nice and thick. And of course, they have that really sharp edge, the 90-degree edge on them, which works perfect for using a ferro rod. There you go. This little piece here, not a bother at all. Can't even feel it when I'm holding it here. Although it does stick out a little bit, it's not enough to bother me. And I just think that might just be an oops on this knife. So here it is, the BF2FTS from BPS Knives. And for the price, you can't beat it. You know, it's almost, I can't call it a starter knife. It's good enough to be your everyday, future-using bushcraft knife. So you saw all the specs and everything in the beginning. I just wanted to end it off. Another good knife from BPS. Highly recommend it. For me, certainly. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that will enjoy this knife and have it for a long time. Just don't forget, it's not stainless steel. And you're going to have to maintain it. So you're going to have to keep it oiled, stop it from rusting, and look after the handle. Other than that, I see no problems at all with this knife. Highly recommend it. Oh, we've been joined by Mary, who hasn't been feeling very good lately. She's got a little bit of a cat cough, I think. If it doesn't get any better soon, I'll have to go and take her in to see her doctor. But overall, it hasn't really bothered her, as you can see. And she approves as she dribbles all over my tri-stick. There you can see here, I've added quite a few notches to it, and I'll go through them quickly with you. And so as you can see, I've been working on it. Here, of course, you saw me do the pot hanger, the rounded notch, the saddle, and I explained the difference between them. Here you just have a basic square notch, just cut out, and here you have a square trim. You can see I just mainly square. Here you have a very plain V-notch, and here is a dovetail notch you can see here. And yeah, I wasn't wearing gloves and I nicked myself, so it'll be an opposite fit to it. And what that does is it gives it strength on a forward and backward sliding here. Once you put it in, it can't move that way, and of course sits there. A nice way to do a notch, and the V-notch, and then making the basic hole in the tri-stick. And you can see it there also. It's not really cleaned up yet, but you can see the hole. And then of course the pot hanger here. I might put another notch in here, and I think what I'm going to do is when I'm done with this and I've cleaned it all up, I'm going to get some boiled linseed oil and cover it all up. Linseed oil, which will bring out all the the grain and everything on it, and hopefully stop it from cracking and breaking. And then I think what I'm going to do is get some small pieces of wood, same thickness as this, and trim them up so that you can place them on here to show how these work. And I'll hang it up on the wall as a showpiece. Been fun doing this. I will admit that it's not as easy as it looks, and doing a notch in a minute, that's going to take a lot of practice to get to do. And of course, this wood is a little bit harder, I think, than willow, which didn't help, but it worked. Like this. Good project. If you're looking for a project, if you like to whittle, you know, you can be out there camping and just sit around the fire in the evenings and whittle yourself a tri-stick. Good practice, and you never know when you may need them. Maybe another notch. Not sure yet. I might just clean it up and finish it off, and then make the pieces for here and put it on the wall as shame. There it is there. So I think what I have left is just a round notch around here, which is just basically, instead of squaring it up like this one, it'll just be round, a round reduction on it, which is a nice thing to do. And to be honest, it's all about playing with a knife and getting used to handling it, to do something that you would need to make something while outdoors. If you like me and like to whittle, this is a great project. Can't beat it. And here is the round reduction I was talking about. As you can see, it's just, you just reduce the diameter of the stick. What is it used for? Well, really, it's just decorative. You might be making yourself a chair, for example, and this is a leg for on the chair, and you want to make it look a little fancy. You can do this to it. So if I can think up some more notches, I'll probably add them. I believe in the document for this, there are, 15 different notches you can do on it. And here's the list. I'll just read them off to you real quick. End neatly trimmed, that we did in the beginning. Reduction for toggles, pack frames, construction. Now reduction would be the square and the round. And then a pot hook notch, a saddle notch, dovetail notch, 90 degree latch, deadfall trigger, planes for each other, deadfall trigger, a split. I didn't do the split because I didn't want to break the stick up. The notch for a spear point, a flute or a whistle type notches where you're making the holes in the flute. A bow notch, a hole through the stick, which I did, this one here, which I still have to clean up. Or for a bow drill or something like that. The stripper, I'm sure you've seen it, and that is at the end of a thin stick, you would make a little V notch, which looks like this at the end of the stick. And if you want to, when they say a stripper, it's used for things like stripping the bark off roots and the skin off the roots, and from that you can make twine. Put the root in there and you just pull it through, and it strips it away and leaves you with some really good root to make twine, string. 15 was stripping it of the bark, and then using the bark as to make twine and that sort of thing. So although they say there's 15 notches, they use the term notch very loosely. For example, I don't think that this is a notch really. It's more of a decorative thing. This is a notch. It's a handy thing, a notch. And by the way, on the V notches, you can vary those by making, this is a 90 degree notch here. You can see the actual angle is 90 degrees. You can make it 45. So you have a 45 degree here and 90 there for a notch there. A dovetail, a very basic dovetail notch. and hopefully I'll get those little pieces stuck together, well, cut and fitting in here, and we'll have to tie them off somewhere. Maybe I'll have to make a hole through here with some cordage coming out and tie those pieces there so you can add it on and see what it's all about. And then, of course, cleaning it all up, making it look a little neater, and then, like I said, I want to use some boiled linseed oil, and we'll coat it, and it'll bring out all the wood. And here it is finished. You can see the sides of it there, and the whole stick. So now I need to put linseed oil on it and add things as I go. But this is the base of it, and it'll be going on that wall. Think about it. You might want to do it when you're out camping, like I said, and next time you buy yourself a knife and you want to know if it'll do the job, do something like this. Obviously doing the notches you know that you'll need when you're in the outdoors. So here's a closer look at each notch, and this one here, you can see at the end there is the beak head or pot holder notch. Then you have the round, the saddle, the square, and the square reduction. Now it's not really a notch, it's more of a decorative thing you would do. It really doesn't have any function, it's just knife skills. And here you have a dovetail, and hopefully I can show you that later, how that works. And here you have just a hole through the stick, and then of course the round reduction. Same thing again, it's just decorative. And each notch actually has a function. It can be used for different things, and of course the ends have all been rounded off, and I have a place to hold the stick for the pot holder. Don't forget now, like, share, subscribe. You know the story, and pretty sure I'll be back again soon. Maybe with a quick addition. Maybe with another knife. Who knows? Just saying. Thanks for watching.